everybody, welcome back. In this video I'm going to show you my latest guitar. As you can tell, this is a Goldtop Les Paul with P90s, but it's probably not the year and specific model you might think it is because I've made significant modifications to it. But first, this is a gift from my wife for our 20th wedding anniversary. Yes, thank you very much. But full disclosure, I picked it out myself.
What?
But wait, let me explain.
Whatever.
She deserves all the credit because she came to me and told me she wanted to get me a guitar. She even picked one out. It was a Fender American Professional Strat. And I was really blown away because not only did she pick a great guitar, but she picked a guitar. I mean, she's always telling me I have too many, so I was really blown away. But I told her that what I really wanted was another Les Paul, but with P90s. So she let me pick it out, and but again, she deserves all the credit. It was her idea, so honey, happy anniversary, I love you. And to the rest of you, let's go ahead and jump on into this. And I love you guys too, but in a much different way. All right, let's jump on into it. Okay, now as I said a second ago, this is probably not the year and model that you think it is because I've made quite a few changes to it. Now, in the fall of 2018, Gibson announced the Les Paul Standard 50s P90 model. That model, in the current year, is still the current Goldtop standard with P90s as part of their original collection. Now this guitar here looks like that one, but it's actually not. This guitar is the 2018 Les Paul Classic model, which debuted in late 2017. So it's basically the model that came immediately before the latest version, okay? Now these guitars are very similar though, and both are intending to go for a 1956 Goldtop vibe. And they share the majority of components with each other, but there are a few differences, and one in particular that prompted me to choose this one instead of the newer model. And I wanted to share that with you guys in case you were thinking about getting either of them. So here on the screen you can see a chart that I created showing the components side by side for each model. Now I'm not going to go through each one, just where we see the differences. And first and foremost, and this is the reason why I chose the 2018 Classic, is the neck profile. The Classic comes with the slim taper profile, and the Standard 50s comes with the Vintage 50s profile. Now I've said this before, I really like the slim taper profile. I have it on multiple Gibson guitars, and I find it personally to be a very comfortable fit for my hands. And I think my hands are a little bit on the smaller side, at least by Western standards. And in contrast, the chunkier 50s era necks that I've tried, I just have not been able to mesh with. Now I need to make sure you know that I have not actually played the Standard 50s model with P90s, so I can't tell you how it feels in comparison. As I'm taping this video, the world is still in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, and while stores are starting to open up again, I could not find any local stores that were selling the Standard 50s model. Not even the 3 guitar centers that are sitting within 10 miles of my home. However, I discussed with someone that I really trust, who knows my experience and preference with guitar necks, and he spent some time with the guitar in his shop, and he said I should definitely steer away from it. And like I said, I really trust this guy, so I did, and that's why I went on the hunt for one of these 2018 Classic models instead. Alright, so what else is different between these two models? Well, next we have fret size and fret treatment. The 2018 Classic has medium-sized frets, while the 50 Standard has medium jumbo frets. Personally, I would have been happy with either. I've said this before, while the majority of my guitars have jumbo frets, I have some that don't, and I've found that I can pretty easily acclimate to them so I don't get too hung up on fret size. I'm not saying it's not important, I'm just saying that I can adjust to it pretty easily. But the Classic to me gets extra points because it has the cryogenic fret treatment. 2018 was also the last year that Gibson did those fret treatments, which is supposed to make the frets stronger and last longer. Gibson claims that their testing showed that after 277,000 string bends, the standard frets had 4 times the amount of wear that the cryogenically treated frets have. Now I've said this, when I've reviewed other recent Gibson guitars, I was really disappointed to see that practice of the fret treatments go away, and I can only assume it was a cost-cutting measure. So because of that, I give the 2018 Classic some extra points there. Next we have the nut material. On the 2018 it was Gibson's Tectoid material, and the newer model has a Graphtec nut. Both are synthetic materials, and I know some people swear the Graphtec nuts are an improvement, and others don't see it. But either way, this was a pretty minor factor in the grand scheme of things for me. After that, we have the tuners, and the Classic uses Kidney Grovers, and the 50 uses the Vintage Deluxe tuners.
Now I got to give points to the 50s model here because those tuners look like the original old Kluson tuners. In fact, that's one of the modifications I made. If you look at this guitar, you can see I don't have the kidneys. I actually swapped them out for some Kluson tuners, but I also decided to take it a step further and I got Kluson locking tuners. So you wouldn't know from looking at it from the front end, but if you look at behind the headstock, you can see they're locking tuners. So I decided to give it an extra little upgrade there. And then we have the control knobs, and the Classic has the speed knobs. You can see them on my guitar here, and the 50s has the old school top hats. And again, I got to give points to the 50s here for giving it the old school look once again. I did order some top hats though to replace these speed knobs, so those should be here soon. So that's another upgrade, or I don't know if it's an upgrade, but an aesthetic change that I'm making to make it look more old school. And then finally, the jack plate cover is different. And that difference, it makes sense from a hardware standpoint. But again, the 50s is being more old school authentic. But as you can see, I did replace the jack plate with a plastic jack plate that matches the pick guard, just like the 50 standard does. So I went ahead and made that change again to give it that more authentic old school look. So to summarize the differences, the 50s really wins if you want to have a closer representation of a classic 56 Goldtop aesthetically right out of the box. However, again, it was the neck profile that steered me in the direction of the 2018 Classic, because all the other differences I've pretty much been able to neutralize by ordering those components and having them installed. So for me, it just made sense to go with the 2018 Classic and make some changes to it. But the changes that I made did not stop there. In addition, and this was a pretty simple one, I replaced the truss rod cover, right? The original one has that, it says Classic on it. And I wanted to have a blank one, just like it was in the old days with an original 56 Goldtop. The truss rod cover was blank, so I ordered a blank Gibson truss rod cover. You can see I've already installed it. All right, now what about the pickups? The description for both guitars simply state that they are P90s, and I asked Gibson about this, and they told me that they are actually identical. No changes were made to the pickups when they transitioned from the 2018 model to the newer models. They're equipped with Alnico 5 magnets, and the bridge pickup I thought was pretty decent. It had a nice punchy, crisp tone, but it was actually, I felt like it was a little too smooth. I know that may sound funny, but I wanted my P90 to be a little bit more raw and crisp, or more crisp. And then the neck pickup, I didn't really care for the neck pickup that came in this guitar at all. I thought it was pretty muddy, kind of dull. No matter how I adjusted it. So it made sense to swap them out for a new pair. And it came down to either going with the Fralins or Lawlers. And I went with Lawler for two reasons. One, I have experience with them. I bought some Lawlers for my Firebird and thought they were just amazing. Totally transformed that guitar. And also Lawler are here up in the Pacific Northwest where I am, so I just kind of wanted to keep it local if I could. So I'm really, really happy with these pickups, really happy that I made the change. I'll play for you a little bit more here in a second, but the bridge pickup, again, it's got a little bit more bite, but it's still clear and articulate. And the neck pickup is like night and day. This neck pickup now, it doesn't sound muddy, it's got bite, but it's still round and clear. And I just can't, say enough about the Lawler pickups. I think they're absolutely fantastic. Oh, and speaking of things that impact tone, this guitar, and I know some people think it's negligible, but this guitar is not weight relieved. Just like the 50 standard, the newer one, they're not weight relieved. This one clocks in at about 10.5 pounds. For some people, that's a turnoff, but it doesn't bother me the slightest. And I do primarily play standing up too. But if you are someone who's sensitive to guitars that are a little heavier, you definitely want to pick one up before you bring one home. Now, before I play a little bit more for you, let's talk about the finish here. It's funny because I was honestly not a big fan of Goldtops for many years, aesthetically, until recently, really. I used to think they were kind of boring, and then something clicked in me, and now I just absolutely love them. And I think you really have to see them in person. If you get them in the right light, it's just the sparkle and everything. I think they're beautiful. Now, if you do plan on searching out one of these 2018 classics, they also come in black and Pelham blue. You can find plenty of black ones out there, and a few in blue, But these Goldtops from that year can be a little bit more challenging to find, so keep your eyes peeled. Reverb.com is still my go-to website for finding used guitars or even new guitars that are out of town, of course. And I think most of you are familiar with that site. That's where I found this one, and in mint condition. The seller actually had it listed for 5 months. And I think the reason it wasn't selling is because he had it listed as for local pickup only, meaning he wasn't willing to ship it, which obviously limits your buying pool, or your selling pool, sorry, when you have it listed as for local pickup only. So, I just decided to reach out on a whim and said, hey, are you open to shipping? And he said, yeah. So I grabbed it pretty quickly, and I think I'm pretty lucky in that respect because, again, the Goldtop ones from that year are pretty hard to find. Okay, now I'm going to play a little bit for you guys here, just a little bit, and you're going to hear a crunch tone and then a lead tone. And I'd say I tend to, with this guitar, turn back the gain or distortion just a little bit so I can dig in a little bit more with my pick and let the pickups do more of the work versus the amp or processor in this case. And I tend to play more, I guess, 70s styles riffs and solos when I pick up this guitar. Although you might listen to my tone and say it's more 80s-ish, at least the crunch tone. But either way, a lot of fun to play. Let's jump on into it.
Alright everybody, that was my video showing you my latest guitar, this Les Paul Goldtop with P90s. If you enjoyed what you saw, feel free to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button, and leave any comments or questions you have down below, and I will answer all as time allows. Until next time, rock on.